Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Herbert is being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a great...
My goal is not to break you. My goal is to make you harder to break.
Number 6.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
Touchdown! 90-yard touchdown!
Off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James. Sets his speed, takes a shot downfield, has Knighton. Caught! Touchdown! Chargers!
Boys, grab your lunch boxes and go attack this game with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
What is going on, Bolt fam? I, for one, am so pumped to say, nope, this is not a postseason breakdown episode. This is Chargers playoff preview time here on the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. Of course, your favorite Aussie Chargers show with Andy, Al, and we warmly welcome back Jack the Teach. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Gonna be a good fun one today, despite the Week 18 19-3 loss at Denver. We've obviously got a brief recap of that, some hashtag TDUMailbag, and then diving into the wildcard preview. Boys, shall we? I don't know. How would you like to approach this seemingly benefited of the doubt kind of game? Multiple starters out, players already locked in. What were we kind of hoping to see? Jack, we missed you last week, so maybe you kick us off, mate. What were you hoping to see just to sort of start out the conversation around the game?
Well, it would have been nice to see a little bit more from Trey Lance, perhaps. I mean, he got a full game in. Didn't look great throwing the ball. Obviously had an all right day rushing. But I would have hoped that maybe, in the off season, this was his chance to see if we could maybe get a higher draft pick for him if he decided to disappear and maybe sort of look to compete for a starting job somewhere else. But I don't think he did his prospective job opportunities any good. I think he'll probably be coming back next year and it'll be Justin Herbert's backup, Alistair. That was kind of the only thing that I was watching. I couldn't take much from the offensive line. Maybe some backups we want to talk about, but I was sort of tuned in half in and out of this game as I looked after a sick little child. But what do you say?
Yeah, look, I think the NFL's got a real problem with Week 18 generally, and it's really stretching my enjoyment of the sport when I watch these games. When the focus of the broadcast is how many more catches a multimillionaire needs to gain another 750 grand or another $1 million, maybe the NFL wants to think about how they can do some tweaks to make these games more watchable. Anyway, that's my little rant at the start, Jack.
But then you have the Pittsburgh. But then you have the Pittsburgh and Ravens game, which was pretty spectacular. So maybe you take the good with the bad.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to avoid it.
I was just going to say, how could they make them more interesting? Like you can't predict based on the schedule what the maths of each game's going to be. And teams like the Chargers just rest players going into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about this on the fly. Like, could the NFL prohibit incentive-based contracts so that poor Trey Lance, who's trying to prove himself in a regular season game, isn't feeling this pressure to target his teammate who's trying to make $1 million in the game? Hey, when they're throwing a quick screen pass on second down and then Lance targets him on third down, almost gets picked off, I'm starting to think, okay, what am I really watching here? We've got this guy getting targeted 13 times. Anyway, that's perhaps by the by, and obviously Keenan wants to make, get that extra bit. The Chargers didn't have to structure his contract in that way, as Towers pointed out to me on Storm Cloud. But I'm not going to go down the political theory pathway, Jack. The social contract, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. We expect athletes to be trying to win. And Andy, I put it to you: were the Chargers really trying to win this game? Or was Greg Roman, being vanilla deliberately just in case we play these guys again in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Although he topped out, I think, for the year in screen passes, which is, pretty rare for 2025 Greg Roman.
Yep.
I think there was cards close to the chest on both sides of the field. I thought Sean Payton was pretty vanilla as well. And I think that's why I painted it as a benefit of the doubt game. You're not going to see too much from Greg Roman in Week 18 when we possibly could face the Broncos in the divisional round of the playoffs. You've got incentive-based things for players to reach, quarterbacks sort of driving that way. It's only one game at center for Andre James, so how much do you take away from it? No one's really going to win or lose their job. Kyle Kennard, for another one, gets his sort of first opportunity and struggled from my eyes. So benefit of the doubt all round. I don't think you're going to see too much. You probably bang on the money with boring Week 18 games, but like we saw a few years ago, all the Chargers had to do was not call that timeout in the Week 18 game against the Raiders, and we could have both ended up there. So,
Yes, allegedly.
Even though things don't mean anything heading into it, doesn't mean you can't stuff it up all the way through. Injuries were another sort of poignant aspect of this game. Guys dropping like flies. KLS with a hamstring, and Dante Jackson was the big concern. Thankfully, we saw him kind of feeling a little bit more comfortable on the sideline, limited at practice this week. We'll get into all of that later. So look, Trey Lance really struggled with his accuracy, sub sort of 50% completion. All the shots that he took downfield were missing. It just had a bit of a vibes of a walkthrough, a practice. What do you think, Al?
Yes, I mean, it is a shame he has to have the start behind essentially a backup offensive line, and with Denver, one of the best defenses in the league, playing to win because the 1 seed's on the line. That's not really setting him up for success. And if, like you said, we believe that Greg Roman was keeping things simple so as not to tilt his hand in case we play them in divisional round, that also doesn't help Trey Lance that much. I mean, Greg Roman's not the greatest at scheming guys open when he's trying. So when he's not, watching on the All-22, it was quite telling that Lance is having to run with his legs or just trust that he'll chuck a deep sideline shot and hope that KLS is going to run under it or it will end up out of bounds, and hope that his receivers, Jack, actually catch the ball. Will Disley, what's going on there? I'll ask you. Actually, I want to ask you a couple questions before we move on Keenan, and ask you on Disley too. One thing about Keenan playing in this game, I have an opinion on it because I've been watching Keenan, to my eyes, looking a bit slower as the year's gone on. I think it's just as December's come around, he's not getting open quite as easily against Quignon and against Stingley. From that perspective, do you think him playing 40-odd snaps in this game might have been a mistake? What do you think about that? And then also, I'm interested in your view on Will Disley with his incomplete passes. Does this guy get another chance against the Patriots next week?
Keenan Allen, I mean, you talk about Quignon Mitchell and Derek Stingley, and then, was Surtain playing in the game? I can't remember. He was for a bit. And, you talk about a handful of the best corners in the game. So without, I mean, maybe we're just going to be a little softer on Keenan Allen here, and maybe he's just doing the old veteran. I can get the quick screen pass. I can get the quick completions, get my $1 million, and maybe just protect my body a little bit. I haven't had major issues with Keenan Allen, maybe looking a bit slower. I think he is a guy, as most veterans are, when it comes to latter stages in the season. They can turn it on. They know what they need to do and how they need to do it. I'm sure that he's trying to play every game to the best of his ability, but perhaps there is a little bit of foresight there because he's been on this stage before. When it comes to Will Disley, man, it'd really suck if this week at Foxborough it comes down to a big 3rd and 8 and Will Disley's out in the flat, just like he was in the Texans game. He's open and he hits his concrete hands and it goes over for a pick 6.
What's happened to this guy's confidence, Jack? He was such a bright spark most of last year. He has lost it. Dude's lost it.
Well, so's Conklin, the same. He comes in, he's meant to be a pass-catching tight end, and the only good thing that has come out of that tight end room is Aronde Gadsden. So, and Tucker Fisk, mind you, who's coming off, he's off the PUP list, I think, and looks like he might play, maybe. But I don't know. It seems to be...
They've activated his 21-day
They've activated, have
IR.
they? Yep. It seems these veteran tight ends that we get in are really struggling with the offense or struggling with Justin Herbert or just struggling with the game of football just in general, which is not a great thing. So I don't know. As a coach, do you put him back out there and go, you're going to get it this time, you're going to get it this time? But maybe you're not. And I'd hate to see him make a huge drop in Foxborough. That really means something, Andy.
Yeah, well, I mean, 3rd and 8, you'd have to suggest that Keenan would be on the field and the throw would be going to Keenan. If there's anything Keenan has kind of become, it's reliable and predictable, which is a double-edged sword on the predictable side of things. You know, he's that go-to guy in the middle at the sticks for the third down. And I think he does enough, to Al's point, of getting a little bit of separation, enough to make those. But there was, one or two drops, which is really uncharacteristic. That was the concern for me with Keenan, was just a wide open, two hands on the ball drop. And as far as Disley goes, well, I think bringing Fisk back in, which we'd assume would be happening with this activation, it's just fewer snaps for Disley, Conklin to be on the field. We will utilise Matlock and Fisk as these wing tight ends, and hopefully, there's just sort of less paths for Disley to be an option and relied upon for such a crucial point in a game. That's kind of wishful thinking, I think, from my end. But one knock I'll have is that a lot of the receivers that Trey Lance was throwing to, KLS in particular, who dropped the catch that went for the pick, they're the guys that Trey Lance would be having his reps with at practice, correct? Those second string, not starting wide receivers. So for me to be out of sync with the guys that you throw to every week, every day you're at training, is a little bit concerning as well. It's all well and good to throw up a couple of wish balls deep and hope KLS gets on the end of them, but just timing being out on those sort of gimme balls is a bit of a concern. Jack, I think you're really hopeful that one game showing could potentially increase the price tag for him. I don't think he'll probably garner any attention as a starting quarterback with just 6 starts under his belt. But hey, look, it's nice to dream, right?
It is nice to dream.
So just the 12 points surrendered on defense. How are we feeling with the game put out there, missing the starters that we didn't have Mack playing a reasonable amount of snaps, no Tooley, no Derwin James. How are we sort of feeling about that? And it brings into question, should Dante Jackson have been playing as many snaps, being our number one cornerback, and then, leading to an injury? Al, you feel this one?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's slightly unfortunate Nico Reed went down on season-ending IR shortly before lineups were announced. That may have had something to do with it, but they always could have sent Dean Leonard out there. Jack, I was really, I'm going to say I thought this was brilliant by Jesse Minter. I think it was very clever, and this is that strategic element of his brain that I think means he's probably not long for the Chargers and will get a head coaching job very soon. We had backups playing in this game, right? And we have especially backup linebackers. And because this game really doesn't mean anything for us, I think he just said, you know what? We're going to do something to you, Bo, that we haven't done in any of the 3 times we've played you before. We usually blitz 25% of the time. In this game, we're going to blitz you 60% of the time. We're worried about our backup corners. We're worried about our linebackers. So I'm going to send my linebackers on almost every down and see how that goes. I'm collecting information here. I'm seeing, how does Bo Nix go when we start rushing 5 and 6 and 7, and then next time you play us, if you play us again, you're not going to know what I'm going to do, Jack, because I've got, it's dealer's choice here. So I thought that was really clever. And what did you think about how Bo handled that higher blitz rate?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about Vrabel. I mean, what are we going to get from them into defense this week? Are you going to be blitzing 5, 6, 7, or are you going to go back to your rushing 4 with really, really sticky coverage on the back end? So that's a very, very clever insight. I think Alistair well picked up that, Minter is playing chess, not checkers. He didn't just put the cue in the rack. And I think defense is a little bit more of it seems to be a little bit more of, I mean, you can say offense as well, but you always say on defense, you've got the chance to hit people, whereas on offense, you're the ones being hit, especially if you're catching, you're the ones being tackled. If you're a runner, they're trying to get you. So in terms of defense, I guess you can kind of, and I'm not saying that one way is more injurious than the other, but on defense, you can you can control your own destiny a little bit. You can decide how hard you're going to hit and how hard you're going to go. Dante Jackson was a bit of a shame, but it looks like he's going to suit up. But other than that, I thought the defense was great, and it was a win. I'm not sure. I didn't hear on the broadcast whether the Denver fans were booing their own offense, but there might have been some wisps in the wind. In terms of what I saw from Bo Nix, again, very much like what a lot of pundits say, Justin Herbert throws receivers open. Bo Nix throws to open receivers. There's that kind of that's the narrative that's kind of in the league at the moment. And I didn't see too much from Bo Nix that really scared me. Offensive scheming wise, Denver and Peyton are always going to throw up some really interesting stuff, which I think was really good prep as well for the Patriots this week. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, there's not too much else I've got, but Andy, is there anything that you saw that do you think is going to directly carry into Foxborough in 5 days' time?
From the defense, offense, from the defense,
from anything, anywhere. If you wanted to sort of pick your poison, special teams, if you want to talk about that, but
yeah, it was nice that special teams was a little bit better. We'll get into more depth of the what we might see next week as we go, but later on in the show. But I think that Al's point about Minter sort of changing things up and then sort of opening up the awareness from Vrabel, McDaniels, as well as Peyton, by doing something a bit different. Now it's reaction versus proaction, right? And when you've got the defense kind of, you don't know what they're going to throw at you. It sets the offense back, I think, more than the defense. The defense, as you said, Jack, nailed it, controls their own destiny in those moments and creates the play and the availabilities for the options that Denver, New England, whoever will operate. So, I don't know. I'm hopeful that it's a lot more based off the defensive front, and that's how Jesse Minter looks to control the game against New England. I think it has to be the way. So, like I said, we'll get into further things, but that's sort of what I'd look at carrying through. I think it's the most relevant kind of aspect of the game.
Al,
I've got a couple.
Can I throw one to you before you go? Do you feel that any player this week, a backup player, has deserved to actually start or see more snaps in Foxborough or not?
Absolutely, I do. I'm going to put a pin in that because we've got some mailbag questions about it. But the inverse of that. There's a backup player who I now don't want to see again, and he's the left tackle Austin Deculus. God help us if Jamari Sawyer can't get right and start at left tackle in this game. I felt bad for him because Nick Benito is a heck of a pass rusher, Andy. And we commented, he basically played the greatest hits on him where he just outsmarted the poor guy. He said, he thought to himself, Deculus, I know that you know I'm super fast and bendy and that you're scared that I'm going to get to the corner and around you. So you're going to overset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an inside move on you and get a sack. And then I'm going to get an inside move on you again and get a half sack. And then now you're worried about my inside move and I'm going to go around the corner and get a sack. Austin Deculus was destroyed from pillar to post in this game. If you could give a PFF grade of less than 20, this would be one of those games where he was a nightmare on that side. Andre James, people will be interested to hear about, I suppose. Thought he held up all right for part of the first half. He has an issue with his anchor, and that showed up a little bit in the second half. It probably explains why Bozeman is the preferred player. You don't typically see Bozeman get rocked back off the snap into the quarterback's legs. We saw that happen a couple of times where Lance has just had to bail and escape the pocket because James is stepping on his ankles straight away off the snap, which was a bit of a shame. Jack Branson-Taylor, your boy, I know he graded really poorly, but it's funny, these games and how they work. It's sort of in the eye of the beholder. I was watching the first quarter and a half of the game on the coach's film and getting quite excited by Branson-Taylor because I think he's got a nasty streak. He mirrors reasonably well. He's a strong guy. Then as the game wore on, loss. Suddenly beaten with a swim move. Suddenly has fallen over. So I think for a developmental first-year player who's been on the practice squad, there's enough there that you'd think, okay, you hung with a top 5 NFL defense for about a quarter and a half. We can work with you, we can train you, but I'm not seeing enough, Jack, to think that I'd be comfortable really with any of these dudes stepping in and playing at Foxborough. It's going to mean that Herbert is being pressured at the highest rate in the league, which he has been all year. It's a bit of a shame. Andy, last thing from me, special teams, a bit better this week. Still allowed a 33-yard return from Marvin Mims. I'm worried this is going to show up in a playoff game. Yep. We'll get to our preview of the Pats. They do have a punt returner in Marcus Jones, who has returned a couple for touchdowns this year. There's something each week. There's just something each week, Jack. It's either you're missing kicks or suddenly you're not returning as well. You're not covering the kicks as well. Yeah, it's been a really poor year from Ryan Ficken.
Yeah, just hasn't...
say it. We love him on the show, but we've got a long sample now of it just not quite working out.
Yeah, or just not being consistent and playing as an actual unit together. There's no complementary aspect to special teams this year within themselves in the various phases of that phase of the game. So that's why it's really hard, because when the kicking's good or when the kicking's bad, the coverage tends to be better and shows up, and those hidden yardages aren't there, but we're losing points off the board. This week, hidden yardages, there's no real amalgamation of the coverage unit. It seems like guys are getting pushed out and not being able to make a play on the guy returning the ball. And I keep seeing poor decision making on the actual kick return guys, sort of letting the ball bounce. Ball's pinned at the 2. I know sometimes they're bad luck, but that's your job. It's your job. So do it better.
Do your job.
Yep.
It's the week for do your job, isn't it?
How weird is it that we're going into a playoff game in Foxborough? Belichick isn't coaching, but we're going back to, hey, you know what? It's going to be hidden yardage that might win the game. I don't want to spoil the preview too much, but the world comes full circle, doesn't it? Golly. Golly. Anyway.
On that note, Al, over to you for some hashtag TDU mailbag.
Yes, Jack, you didn't have any kind of reflections before I take off? No, we're good?
No, I think let's move on.
Brilliant. All right, the hashtag TDU mailbag. Thank you for all of the listeners who've submitted questions. We'll get right into it. I'll pass the questions around. And we had a few that are directed at the offensive line, guys. So I'll ask them collectively. Give me a quick response. Andy, this one is from Tino on X, at Tino from the Q. What's your preferred starting O-line combination heading into this game?
Oh, tough one. Solier, Johnson, Bozeman. And this is where it kind of gets a bit sticky. I can't go off one game. Penning looked okay at right guard last week. I'll say Becton and Pipkins over Bobby Hart at right tackle.
Okay, love it. We're going to elaborate in a second. Jack, this one came from Peter Heller on X at Pistol495. Bolts from the Blue member as well. Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Tino. It sounds like, Jack, at the moment, Harbaugh's said this morning, that Becton's going to start at right guard. Could you see a situation, do you think Giro or Harbaugh would have the stones to pull Becton early in this game if things aren't working and get Penning in there?
Oh.
Yeah, cojones, Jackie. Cojones.
Yeah. Well, Penning looked all right and has looked a little better, even in some of those weird fullback roles and sort of motioning across the formation. So what I'm hoping, and here we go, I'll connect to your point. What I'm hoping is that Giro now throws the kitchen sink with the offense and goes, hey, we got to get this win. No more hiding stuff. No more changing. Hey, if the inside stuff isn't working, let's try and push outside. Let's try and do this. Let's try and do that. So if that's the philosophy, and we're playing for sheep stations now, we're playing to win, we're not playing to just go, our record's still pretty good, we're going to limp into the playoffs, I'd be expecting to see different combinations of the offensive line as early as halfway, maybe not halfway through the first quarter, maybe by the start of the second quarter. There we go. That's what I'll be saying.
Other than when Becton invariably walks out because he needs to take a shit.
Or eat a slice of pizza. Yeah. So yeah. I'm actually hoping for different combos on that offensive line. And if it's working, you keep running with it. You don't stop. And if it's not working, I hope to see some change. There we go.
Good one.
Yeah, cool.
To quote Bobby Hart, like Jim Harbaugh did last week, one game doesn't define you, but now it will. Yeah, that's right. It all comes down to this game. One game will define everything, including 10, which we'll get to later. Last question on this topic. At Lightning Hobo from Bolts from the Blue. I'll answer this one. Again, about the line. He's asked, did the 3 backups show anything in that game? Does it change the off-season plans? What should the Chargers do? Is it different from what you think they will do? I'm gonna chime in on this one. I would start Penning in this playoff game. I would start Penning at right guard.
Well,
I think he adds a nastiness and a toughness in the run game that Becton is not providing at all. He graded exceptionally well against Denver. Forget the grading. I liked what I saw on the tape. I thought he did his job. There aren't a lot of mean guys on our line. It's good to have at least one of those in a cold playoff game. I'll tell you what the concern is about him. Even though he graded well this week, he really struggles to anchor in pass protection. And in this game where Lance is bailing or we're running quick screens and RPOs or we're chucking it deep down the sideline, there aren't a lot of true drop back pass sets for you to see how Penning goes standing up one-on-one for 3.5 seconds. And when he was asked to do that, it did not go well, about 3 or 4 times.
Did not look good. Yeah.
And my concern is Christian Barmore, who will play at that 3 tech. Maybe Harbaugh is thinking, hey, Becton at least, he loses from athleticism, but he's probably not going to get bull rushed as much as Penning. We're going to stick with a 6'8" free agent and hope that he comes good in a playoff game. I've seen Becton lose too many different ways and not play and the bad attitude that I just say, nope, I'm going to take the bad in pass pro and the good from Penning in the run game, and I'd go with Penning. Don't think this changes the off-season plans much. I mean, I don't think Becton's going to be a Charger next year. Penning's a free agent. Depending on how he goes this year, there might be enough there that you'd want him back as a backup or something if he accepted, a cheap deal. Bobby Hart, Pipkins, Deculus, they're all free agents. We're going to need to attack the draft. We're going to need to attack free agency. So nothing I saw changed that, lightning a hobo. All right, moving on to a different topic. Thanks, guys, for those questions. Let's go to a fun one, actually, from Arne. I know he's listening from Belgium. We love your questions, buddy. Arne Sixpack from Belgium asks, not that I'm expecting it at all, but how would you guys prepare for and survive a Chargers Super Bowl appearance? I think my head would be spinning from the end of the AFC game and that I would not be able to function properly for the 2 weeks before and during the game. How would you approach heading into a Super Bowl? How would we go, you reckon, Jack?
So the first discussion would have to be, are we going? That's
Yes.
the one. Are we actually, that's the first, you'd have to go, okay, we've made it. We now have to figure out very quickly, are we going to book tickets? And if it was a yes,
Can we
then
get tickets?
obviously...
Can we get time off work? Can we get permission from our missus?
That's right.
Can we
don't need the last one. Don't need the last one.
sign
Job and
and submit the
finances.
permission slip. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But if I wasn't going, it would be, I think it's just, that's when I guess work is ramping up for me. So I'd probably keep myself pretty busy, but I'd have to, ask for permission to I'd take one of my flexible leave days, maybe even 2 leading up to it, get prepared. I might even fly up to Melbourne and watch it with you guys. That's what I'd be thinking about, and see if we could watch it together if we weren't all going. But it would be tough. I think it would be tough. I'd probably spend a lot of hours in the gym, just meditating. I think that's where I'd be at, Arne. It'd be challenging. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, I'd be a nervous wreck. Absolute wreck. Would not know how to approach the week with any kind of rational behavior or thoughts. I'd let all of everything creep in and just be completely overwhelmed by it. I like to spend Super Bowl Monday, as it is in the Southern Hemisphere, or in Australia at least, with as many friends that love the sport, and we all just watch the game together and have fun. If the Chargers are in it, no, absolutely not. I'll watch it with you two. That's it. My partner wouldn't even be allowed to be present. It would be a really lock-in kind of affair, and I'm not even going to think of what the outcome would be, but it would be absolutely all over the shop. Wouldn't know how to deal.
I know Dom's listening now. It's even pushing it that Dom wants to watch with us this weekend for Wildcard Round. As we get further down the play, just kidding, Dom. We love you, buddy. I love you, baby. Miss you, baby. As we get closer to the Super Bowl, we've got decisions to make, and I'm with you, Jack. If the Chargers make the Super Bowl, we are watching this game together, the 3 of us. We're making it work. We're coming to Hobart. You're seeing if you can get the Monday off.
I've already got the Monday off. I've already got the Monday off, so
Mate,
that's
I'm off till March.
less.
I'm laughing.
I don't think you have a job to go back to.
That's right. Good call.
Just
All right,
full-time TDU.
Keep it going. And then second question for Arne. I feel obliged as a Belgian to ask a beer question. What Australian beers would you recommend to drink during a Chargers game? I'll try to get my hands on it so I can try it out.
If you can find
Yeah,
Cascade Lager, which is only produced in Hobart, and it's very rarely actually even pushes to the north of the state, let alone to the mainland of Australia. Anything made by Cascade is unhangoverable beer. And I can guarantee you, because I had 4 pints yesterday and I feel chipper this morning, made from the purest waters of Mount Wellington, or Kununyi in First Nations language, that I see out my front window every day. Cascade Lager, or colloquially known as Cassie Blue, is the best beer to enjoy with a Chargers game.
Sold that very well. Are you getting kickbacks from Cascade that you're not telling us about?
I found Braden's
Is that not going in the
as
business
our,
account?
Informal sponsor. Jack's found his own, Cassie Blues.
Yeah, he's
Cassie-
just given them the
Cascade
non-business account details and said, "Hey, kickbacks in here, thanks." So the old Cassie Blue shout out. I see how it's going. I think you can get up to tricks down there, Jack, in your quiet little state of Tasmania. I call you out.
In the rural city of Hobart.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Jack we'll leave that answer there.
Yeah, he dominated it. I find most of the exported Australian beers aren't my favourite, but and I'll send you a few cheeky ones. I don't know if they'll actually send them overseas, but I'll respond to you on Stormcloud. Let's go to our buddy Ryan Watkins from Powder Keg Podcast. He's got 2 really good ones. Andy, build a team, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, from the players on eliminated teams that could win a Super Bowl. I gave Andy a heads up, Ryan. It's not fair to throw that on the spot, but reel us through it quickly. Who's your eliminated team Super Bowl roster?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I'm glad I got a bit of a heads up, because trying to do this off the top of my head would have been difficult. I'm going off this year's form, so I'm ruling out players who are out for the rest of the season. Patrick Mahomes will not be my quarterback. And the quarterback position, just to start off, which might,
Seems
murmur
logical.
some...
Yep.
Yeah.
Would he be your quarterback anyway?
No, not of this year, but, God no. There were maybe 1 or 2 Chiefs players that I had to stomach putting in, but, they're probably the best at their spot, even if the team's out of the playoffs. All right, here we go. I've gone Dak Prescott at quarterback from Dallas. It was a close one between him and Jared Goff. I just feel like there's a little bit more explosion and dynamic ability, dual threat. Dak can use his legs. Otherwise, stats were very similar. My 3 wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Cincinnati, George Pickens, Dallas, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Detroit. At tight end, Trey McBride had a year that could not be caught by anyone else. Jack's got a playing card.
Jack's drunk
That's
again.
good.
Yep.
Yeah. At running back, led the league with rushing touchdowns with 18, Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis. My front 5, and I drool over having any of these guys in ours. Tristan Wirfs at left tackle, Quentin Nelson left guard, Creed Humphrey center. Right guard, I've gone Chris Lindstrom and from Atlanta, and Penei Sewell at right tackle. So that's my starting 11 on offense. I think that's a pretty competitive unit. On the defense, running a 4-3, Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson are my 2 edges. I've got Jeffrey Simmons and Quinnen Williams from Dallas as my defensive tackles. Linebacker was close. The 3 guys I've got: Jack Campbell from Detroit, Devin Bush, Cleveland, and I've got Bobby Wagner in there, just over Demario Davis. There were 5 sacks to 1, more pass rush presence from Wagner. At cornerback, DJ Turner from Cincinnati and Jamel Dean from Tampa Bay. Ball production was a big one in coverage, both under 47% completion percentage when targeted. Not bad. And at safety, Kyle Hamilton, Brian Branch. I can't go really any other way from them. So once again, I think a pretty competitive unit. Would they win a Super Bowl? Would they play well together? Who knows? But that's the best I could give you. Rybo.
Well done. That's a bloody good answer. I'd think about Joe Burrow at quarterback, actually. I think that might be the only one. But Dak had such a good year. Thanks, Ryan. The other question from Ryan, just checking if we've got Jack. Yep. No, struggling a bit with his connection. Ryan asks, If you boys had to describe the Chargers 2025 season using a left field analogy, what would you go with? Don't go chalk. Get weird with it.
Oh,
Andy, Jack's bailed out of the question. Jack's. We're just waiting on Jack to get his internet back. Do you have anything in response to this one, Andy? I can think one just came to me as I was asking it, but you can go.
maybe go with you because I'm just going to waffle about how I wanted to leave Jack this one, thinking that he'd come up with something. Great.
Yeah.
What have you got, man?
Left field. Well, my mind went to Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. And people who haven't read it, the concept is you've got this hedonistic, youthful guy who's out there committing sins, and almost in a deal with the devil, there is a portrait of his face hanging up in the attic. And with each bad deed he does, he forever remains youthful, but the portrait over time gets uglier, the mouth gets twisted, and it more reflects the life that he's led, drinking and sleeping around. And why that describes this season is because all year I've been thinking to myself, how do we keep getting away? How do we keep getting away with the sins of Greg Roman on offense and this vanilla scheme? Our record is almost pristine. We're making the playoffs, but we've got this stubborn, vainglorious approach running mirrored concepts. Is it eventually going to catch up with us? So for now, I think we've got the pit portrait of Dorian Gray preserved. We'll soon find out if it's all going to come crashing down in the playoffs, just like it did for Dorian, Jack.
I think I'm back.
Yep.
Have you got my... Okay, I've actually spent quite a bit of time on this, Ryan. So
I told you, folks. I told you it'd come good. I told you. I didn't need to do it.
In the vacuum of not having a teachable moment, you have to indulge me for a number of minutes. But I put together a little story, as I normally do.
But I just left the studio.
I'm combining a couple of things together. Cooking is what I really enjoy. And obviously, everyone knows that I'm a teacher, so I'm combining these two together. The Chargers season has been like being on duty in the school camp kitchen. You've got the dinner plan written neatly on the whiteboard. And Jim is the old hand running the show, Mr. Harbaugh. The kids love his stories, but when it's time to actually pick a recipe, first it's beef stew, then it's chicken pot pie, then halfway through deboning the chicken, it's suddenly tuna noodle casserole with fondue. The poor kids are standing there with raw ingredients in their hands going, "Sir, what the hell are we making?" Then there's Mr. Roman, Greg. He's a disgruntled geography teacher sitting in the corner, rolling rocks through his hands like, back in my day, kids loved rocks. We'd run the rocks. And everyone's like, "Sir, we're starving." He keeps offering a rock as if it's an entree. Then Mr. Minter walks in. The kids call him Jesse. Cool new teacher energy. He doesn't yell, he just organizes stations, roles, timing, safety. He's teaching the kids how to cook and manage the kitchen like it's second nature. And you can already tell he's going to be out of the classroom soon as a principal because he's too competent for this nonsense. Then there's Mr. Ficken Fucken Fiken. He's dressed up for a Gold Coast excursion, but it's actually the middle of the Tassie night. He's shivering, holding a clipboard with numb hands, trying his best, but he looks one gust away from quietly walking into the bush and starting a new life, replaced by someone called John. Interesting. Now we're looking at the kids. Justin is the sensible student with the clipboard, actually trying to follow the recipe while half the kitchen equipment disappears, stolen by a kid last year called JC. And his mates Rayshawn and Joe had to go home early with savage vomiting. Suddenly, you're cooking with a fork, a butter knife, and a prayer. Bradley, he's trying hard to read the recipe, but he keeps mixing up teaspoon and tablespoon. So the dish goes from needs a pinch of salt to congratulations, the ocean has moved into your dish. Then we have Scott. He's the big-hearted kid who's trying his guts out. Can't do much beyond boiling rice, but by the end, you're genuinely grateful because at least someone is keeping the carbs alive. He's standing there proudly like, "I made rice," and you're like, "Good on you. Well done." Then there's Keenan. He's the dependable older kid who's somehow been on 5 of these camps. You're half sure he's been held back, but he's the only one you trust to stir the pot without panicking, and he quietly fixes everyone's mess without making a big deal of it. Then we have Lad. Poor little Lad. Cooked an elite breakfast on day 1. Mwah! Chef's kiss. But by dinner on night 2, he's chopping onions in the dark, eyes watering a little bit, trying to act tough while the whole camp watches. Then you've got Najee. He was meant to be a key helper, but he got sent home immediately because the silly duffer bought fireworks to camp. 1 minute he's saying, I've got something that'll really get the night going. And the next minute you're on the phone to his parents saying, yeah, you've got to take him home. Then there is Amarian. He's the bright younger kid, top of the class. But camp kitchens are chaos, so he's overthinking the meal like in its exam. Sir, where's the rubric for seasoning? He teams up with the kid, Kamani, who's nearly not as book smart, but thrives in the chaos. And together, they slowly start getting meals out. Then we've got Derwin. He is the volunteer for cleanup duty. He always is. His station is pristine, organised, gloves on, sanitizer ready, dependable, locked in. Have you still got me, or is my connection on a bit?
It just improved.
I think I've gone. It just improved. Okay, if we're still going. All right, where did you get to me? What part of the story? What?
Derwin? Oh, what a shame.
Oh,
You got
Derwin.
him?
Oh, no.
I might end my story there because it looks like I'm having connection issues again. No, I've gone. I think I've gone. Whoops.
Oh, he was
that's
flying. That's okay. He'll fix itself up. I was just going to say, if you want to get Keenan in the kitchen, you're going to have to hand over $1 million. He's not. He's not doing. He's not doing it for anything less, Andy. Sorry,
Oh,
Tao.
what a
I know
shame.
you wouldn't have liked that one. What I hope from Keenan is that he rested, by the way, today from practice. So if he comes out and has a great wild card round, you're not going to hear a peep out of me. In fact, you're going to hear me apologise and go, the guy knows what he's doing and he stood up in the playoff game. If he looks slow and can't get open and plays badly, I'll think maybe we could have done with that week 18 rest and get some practice squad receiver in there and give that aging body some time to heal. All right, Ryan, good job. Good questions. Let's do some rapid fire while Jack sorts himself out. All right. At Buck Melanoma, our friend Terry from various media. In fact, and he told us he's going to go to Nazaré in Portugal to see the largest waves in the world soon. So
Right
we
on.
hope he has a great time there. Some quick hitters. And Jack, if we've got you, chime in. Quick one, Andy. Keep or release Becton at the end of the year?
Release.
Okay. Same for Penning, Andy. Would you re-sign him or send him off?
Camp battle between him and Ben Cleveland, who's been newly acquired. I'd like to see what
Good.
we can do there.
Nice one.
I'd
Jack,
rather
if
have
we've got
those
you-
two than Taylor and some other jobber.
Yep. Does Greg Roman return? Probably more rhetorical than anything, says Buck.
Yes, he does.
Will Trey Lance, Andy, be the backup quarterback in 2026?
Yeah, too many other holes and things to worry about than easier just to put that to bed.
Yep. I'll take this one. Do we finally address the centre position via the draft or a quality free agent acquisition? We'd better. And yes, I do think we'll push pretty hard to find if Tyler Linderbaum is able to be extricated from that organisation, particularly as they've got some regime change. Maybe they'd be willing to sell a piece. If not, I haven't done any draft prep really yet, but maybe there are some good centre candidates out there. One each. Keenan, will he return next year, Andy?
Yep.
Jack, will Khalil Mack return next season?
Yes.
Yes,
Awesome.
good call, Jackie. Good call.
Thank you. Good questions, Buck. And a couple of final listeners. Richard Destua at Cobra_3167. I'll throw this one to you, Andy. If the Chargers win this game, will it be because Justin Herbert took it or because everything around him finally didn't get in the way?
I don't like the use of the word everything, so Justin Herbert takes it.
Good answer.
It's not going to be everything.
Now, to finish off our mailbag, we've got the great and famous, the inestimable Kev Diego, who's thrown us a number of questions. We love Kev on the show. Jack, you can take this one to start. Do you think Phillip Rivers takes a job in the NFL one day? Here's a quote on his exit interview from the Colts. He said, "There's nothing concrete on that. I think, if anything, this past month has taught me you're open to obviously anything, I guess, and you go from there."
maybe let's put a time. I think one day, absolutely. I reckon he's going to have a job within the next year. I have a feeling either as a QB coach or somewhere as some kind of like offensive quality coach or something like that, because I reckon he's got it. He's clearly still knows the game very well. He can still read the game really well. He still can read defenses and understand what he's going to do. And the way that Ewers played as well, and how excited Phillip Rivers was getting on the sideline when he threw that touchdown as well. I mean, the guy just loves football. Get him in an organization. Get him to the Chargers. Get him to the Chargers. Just bring him back. I love him.
Yeah, me too. I hope he is. I think the only thing I think is one of his sons, I think, is in his final year with St. Michael's, the high school team. And his other son is about to start as a grade 7. And maybe he wants that final year of his son Gunnar as the senior quarterback or something. But one day...
I think family. I think families... Sure. For me, family is the big holdback. Moving his family to wherever in the country that he lands a job, wanting to maybe move into college coaching while Gunner's going through that, something like that. That would be the only thing that would be holding that timeline back for me. Be a waste, a total waste for an NFL team not to bring a brain like his into a locker room. Incredibly invaluable bloke to have around, I reckon, as far as his smarts go and everything else.
Yes. And yeah, we're so lucky we got to have that little short ride. Unfortunately, it didn't make the playoffs. Andy, do you think the coaching staff was trying to keep Trey Lance's contract value down with a shit game plan, or were they setting Denver up for the game in 2 weeks' time?
I'm going to be more positive than what you're leading me into there, Kev, and say that, no, cards close to the chest, not setting him up for failure or to lower the attention. No, I don't see that being that way. It didn't work because he played crap. Played crap regardless. So,
does Keenan owe Trey Lance a car? 13 targets. Jesus. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly on that one, Kev. Jack, this is a good one. How far does Denver go in the playoffs?
Whoa. Who's their first matchup? Who are they playing?
Well, they've got the week off this week, and if we beat New England, they'll play us.
Oh,
if we
play them
lose,
again? Oh, wow.
They'll play whoever the next lowest seed is.
Buffalo or Houston.
Jeez, I tell you what, all like
one and done.
They're giving me vibes like that, especially because Bo Nix is, and they're kind of like the case. Kansas City Chiefs, they've won a ridiculous amount of one-score games this year, as within one score. So, listen, if I'm Denver, I mean, it'd be pretty big for the Patriots if they beat us to go into Mile High and beat Denver there. I mean, that's
not how it works.
What's that?
If New England win, then they will play the next lowest ranked. So first we'll play 7th if 7 wins, right? So it's sort of snakes like that. Yeah.
Snakes
the higher
like that.
seeded you are, you play the lower seed.
Broncos going to be at home for the whole playoffs.
And if can we beat them? No, I reckon we definitely could. Yeah, based on what I said. Oh, one and done. I reckon that's probably about it.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But Kev's view is, I think Knicks is horrible, which limits their ceiling. I think Jacksonville, Buffalo, or we would beat them.
Yeah. Buffalo definitely. Jacksonville, I'm not too sure.
All right, last couple. Yeah, I agree with that too, actually. That's a good point. Last 2. I'll give these ones to you, Andy. If Minter leaves, what job would he go for? And do you have any interest in recently fired coaches as a defensive coordinator? Those would really only include Raheem Morris and Jonathan Gannon, I think. So what's your response to that one? Do you think he leaves, and any interest in the recent coaches as DC?
Well, Kev, thanks. Sorry, who asked this one? Kev, yeah, Kev again. A tome of questions for us, of course. Al and I actually spoke about this at the pub last week, and we were talking about the potential landing spots for Jesse Minter, and that the one that scared us the most was if Baltimore moved on from John Harbaugh with Minter's presence. Now, I've thought about it a bit since, especially since John got fired, and it's not as attractive a proposition. It's not as an attractive job as you'd sort of think. There's a bit of a rebuild, hint of a rebuild going on there. You've got defenses like Cleveland's star-studded. Could that be interesting? I think Baltimore would be my kind of most feared sort of landing spot for him to go back to what he knows as such. So that's that. And as far as replacements, I'm not really big on either Raheem Morris or Jonathan Gannon as defensive coordinators. I haven't looked at it. We're not doing postseason stuff yet, guys. Kev, we're looking at the playoffs and what we've got ahead of us. So I haven't delved too far into potential replacements, but I don't think I'm overwhelmed by the aspects of hiring within, like a Steve Klinkscale or something like that. Not sure yet.
You've hit all the things I would have said. I'd take Raheem Morris if, like, in a pinch. He's won a Super Bowl. He knows some of the pattern match stuff. It's not too dissimilar a scheme. Yeah, you could do worse than Raheem Morris. Gannon, I'm skeptical. Sorry, Ryan. And the last
the
one, I'll
pew
take
pew
it.
stuff. That's
Pew 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 pew. Yes.
That's
Did you wake up
Duval.
hungry to come to work today, or whatever?
yeah.
Although it feels like most of the guys who sound like absolute goobers end up being good coaches. Who knows? Maybe you don't judge them.
Yeah, that's right.
He's asked a general question to finish, Kev. Thoughts on the NFL firings generally? I don't have any great pearls of wisdom, I don't think. I mean, I am not surprised that the Pete Carroll thing didn't last too long. When you started hearing the murmurings when Chip Kelly had been fired about the disharmony, massive red flag. More recently, some outrageous stories have come out about his son, the O-line coach, not really doing his job properly, and the GM, John Spytek, having to go through film with some of the younger players, including Ashton Genty. I have a lot of time for John Spytek based on some of the things I've heard from him. I was extremely impressed with his intro press conference. And he came from the Bucks, who had some success. He knows Tom Brady. Yeah, okay, it didn't work out with Pete Carroll. They went with a 70-something coach with Super Bowl pedigree. I wouldn't completely write them off that they might not do better with this hire. Maybe it is Kevin Stefanski. Maybe it is Jesse Minter. Who knows? I hope not. But I think they made the right call getting rid of Carroll. I think he's had his time. And we see with these guys in their 70s, maybe they don't quite keep up with the modern day trends. They get stuck in their ways. They think it's my way or the highway. Well, it's the highway for Pete Carroll. Keep driving. Sayonara. And that'll do for the hashtag TDU mailbag, Andy. For
Thank you,
week.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, let's talk playoffs. Finally, moving into the wildcard round at New England, Sunday Night Football. I just want to start on the Chargers because it's, as we spoke about earlier in the show, a bit of injuries coming out of, leading at the end of the season from Week 18 itself. Some of the big names, Tucker Fisk, we've spoken about, has been activated into the 21-day practice window, which is great. Marion Hampton is a big one. Did not practice yesterday due to an ankle injury. Now, the good news, folks, is that it is not the left ankle that he had a stint on IR for. He actually rolled his ankle in the end zone in Week 17 against the Texans. High ankle-ish sort of stuff. I will be a donkey's aunt if they don't jab that and strap that up to the point where he cannot feel a thing, and we need this guy to play. So I'm not super concerned that this is going to be a Marian's out. I think they'll do what they need to do. Dante Jackson improved from sitting out the rest of the Week 18 game. He was limited in practice. Elijah Molden limited as well. Jamari Salyer limited, but they're positive things trending towards those guys playing, and this sort of forcing whoever the best players available are to come out and play, which is, a good thing, I think. So on to New England. Al, do you have anything from the presses or anything like that?
Well, I wanted to
from the
touch
injuries?
on just one thing you mentioned, actually, in our private thread, the news that assistant GM Chad Alexander is going to interview for the Miami job. Unfortunately, with these things, there are Rooney Rule requirements interviewing for these positions. So you hope that Miami aren't just requesting him to satisfy the Rooney Rule. However, if he gets a job and he's a respected guy out there, the Chargers would benefit substantially. Under the Rooney Rule, you receive a third-round pick in back-to-back years if a minority hire takes a GM job elsewhere and he's been with your organization for 2 full seasons. Chad Alexander now satisfies that. We get a 3rd round pick this year and a 3rd round pick next year if Chad Alexander becomes the GM of the Dolphins. So everyone would benefit. The league would benefit from having more minority people in those positions. We would benefit in terms of draft capital. Hopefully Miami would, because he's a smart guy. Good luck to Chad Alexander, Andy, for the interview.
Yeah, well said. I didn't actually realize that it was a 3rd in a successive year. I knew you got at least 1 3rd, but that's great, and it's beneficial for Chad as well. Yeah, highly respected guy. So all the best to him. Okay, so New England rounded out their regular season with a resounding 38-10 win over Miami. The running game dominated, led by Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. 243 total yards at 7.1 per carry on the ground, 4 touchdowns and 5 explosive runs, 10 missed tackles forced too. So pretty nasty outing for the running backs. Caps off a very impressive first season for Mike Vrabel. 14-3 record, AFC East title, 2nd overall seed in the AFC. Start was a little shaky, went down to the Raiders in week 1, Steelers week 3, before a 10-game hot streak was ended by the Bills in a 35-31 shootout a little under a month ago. So impressive, like I said, but Al, the glaring thing to note is who have all these wins come against. One team above 500, that's who? They played the Bengals with Joe Flacco, the Giants, the Titans, the Jets twice, the Dolphins twice, the NFC South. It hasn't been a super challenging schedule for the Pats, but they've still got it done. The Chargers lost to 2 teams that were eliminated pretty early on in the Giants and the Commanders. So I'm not completely knocking and saying that everything's a walkover, but it is something to note, I think, for how this season has kind of arrived for the Patriots. How are you feeling about their overall season and how they fare heading into this playoff game?
I'll go with the headline. I mean, to answer your question, though, I think you don't want to balk at their record, right? It's not. I think the sign of a great team is that you dominate bad teams. You look at even a team like the Steelers, who squeak by with 9 and 10 wins every year. They have trouble getting the job done against Cleveland and Cleveland. They have these 2 or 3 losses to bad teams every year. We respect Jim Harbaugh, because generally, with some very small exceptions this year, the Chargers have gone out and taken care of business. The Pats haven't just taken care of business. They've gone out and hammered teams, and in so doing, they've got a quarterback who's the presumptive MVP of the league. They've found ways to incorporate a lot of young players into the team. They've built that O-line very quickly. Vrabel's already instilled a winning culture. So I don't want to take these guys lightly at all. I mean, as you've said, they only played teams with winning records a couple of times. A couple of those were earlier in the season in the first 5 weeks. And then, I mean, they lost to the Bills. It was 31-35. The Bills have Josh Allen. Their offense still put a heck of a lot of points on the board. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack. And I'll start us off, Andy, with my first headline for the game and channeling the former coach, Bill Belichick, "Know thine enemy," from Sun Tzu's The Art of War, Bill Belichick's favorite book. And I've, with some help from AI, just gone through some of their tendencies on offense and defense to think about these guys. Offensively, Andy, these guys are a really heavy 12 and 13 personnel team. So they like to get multiple tight ends on the field. But what they do that's a little bit different is, instead of adopting this major trend that's happening across the league right now, where offenses get in heavy personnel and throw the ball, because they think, Kevin O'Connell, McVay, these guys, Ben Johnson, they think if we get big, the defense will get big. They'll bring bigger personnel onto the field, linebackers, and we'll have some sort of a coverage matchup we can exploit. Patriots, not so much. They are running the ball out of those personnel groupings a combined 14.6% more than the league average. So they get in big, they run the ball, they like to use a 6th offensive lineman, a guy called Thayer Munford. Half the time they've got a fullback on the field, a guy called Jack Westover. They're running the ball, and they've got Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. Double trouble. One guy's a bit bigger, one guy's more explosive, and they're gonna stress you out. They're predominantly gap-centric. They run between the tackles. They hammer you. But then what they do with those 2 backs, They get them both on the field at the same time. They call that pony personnel, 21 personnel. And where most teams actually run the ball with 2 backs on the field, because it's a halfback and a fullback like Matlock, these guys pass out of 21 personnel a lot more than most teams. So I think you need to know your offensive tendencies. You need to know that this is what they like to do. They like to come out on the field in big packages and run the ball, and you've got to be prepared for that. Flipping it over on defense, they're generally a 3-down lineman team, which is old school Patriots, a 3-4 defense or 3-3-5 because they've got 5 DBs on the field a lot. They're a heavy cover 3 zone and cover 1 man team. So they like to have the middle of the field closed with the 1 safety running deep down the pole. And I think you need to think about that as an offense. They're just like a league average blitz rate, but they will get bigger on early downs to stop the run. That opens up some opportunities to attack them with the man coverage underneath, and you're kind of single high, just one guy in the middle of the field. So that's something you need to do every time you play a team in the playoffs. Know thine enemy, Andy, but the thing with all of these tendencies is they can be broken, and the Patriots know that we'll have these tendency reports, so you can never completely lean into these things. But just for the listeners, those are some things I've picked up from the stats heading into the game.
So be wary. Is that what you're saying? Don't fall into the tendency predictability, and just 21 personnel, they're throwing the ball, that kind of thing. So don't get sucked in, Jesse, is what you're trying to say. Very good point. Our buddy Ryan posted some interesting tidbits on that defensive side of the ball since week 9. Now, fair's fair. Robert Spillane, who has been the Patriots' leading run defender, Milton Williams, who hasn't been that good, but he's a presence up front, have missed some game time in this period. But since week 9, the New England defense, 32nd in EPA per play, 30th in yards per rush allowed, 30th in DVOA, 30th in run stuff rate, 32nd in yards before contact at 2.29, and 28th in explosive runs allowed. And as I mentioned before, they're against teams, the Browns, the Jets, the Bengals, the Bucks, who are not prolific runners of the ball. So these are some nice little tidbits. The big thing is with the big bodies, Christian Barmore, Milton Williams, like you said, Al, know thine enemy. Be wary of the struggle that Greg Roman might face by running the ball up the middle. We've seen Amari and Hampton used beautifully running outside the tackle, gets a burst of speed around the corner. That is where the Patriots have struggled containing the run. And it's, I think, something that is going to be very important. I looked at the stats from the 2019 divisional round playoff in New England, the last time the Chargers played the Patriots in New England in a playoff game. And Tom Brady's Patriots led 35-7 at halftime. And what that ended up with was 19 total rushing yards from the Chargers. Phil Rivers had over 50 pass attempts, and it just wasn't enough in a 41-28 loss.
Yeah, so I watched that one with Jack.
For me,
LeGarrette Blunt and these two, very annoying.
Sony Michel went ham.
Yeah. Sorry, Sony Michel.
For me, putting the thoughts back onto the defense is very important. Develop the run game. Like you said, Al, if they're playing heavier personnel in the box on early downs, take those shots early. Keep them honest and keep the field split. It's the best way for our offense to flourish against a defense that has the potential to give it up. We've got to be incredibly cautious on defense. They've got an explosive, crafty Josh McDaniels. So for me, that's sort of where that sits. We've just jumped straight into the keys to victory here. But one of my headlines, Al, just a quick one, is always take a Harbaugh into battle. This is looking as a true playoff game in the cold northeast of the country. One in the trenches. For me, Becton shocks everyone and plays every snap.
I hope so, because that probably spells good things if that happens. A couple headlines to finish that segment for me. Greg Roman and Mike Vrabel must be Democrats because they hate the red zone. The Patriots defense ranks 30th in red zone percentage, allowing touchdowns on 67.5% of entries, whereas the Chargers ranks 27th in the red zone getting touchdowns on only 47.4% of entries. So it's bad versus bad, but it's probably a really important part of the game. We didn't convert very well against Denver. We haven't converted well all year. You have a chance against the third worst defense in the red zone in the league. My last headline, Andy, family ties. Tier Tart, Deshaun Hand, Elijah Molden, Bud Dupree, if he plays. They've all been coached by Mike Vrabel. And then if you swap it, Hunter Henry and Jalen Hawkins, this safety who played when Staley was around, they're ex-Chargers, and those two are having really good years. So there is a bit of familiarity there, but I'm sure there'll be no love lost when they strap up and take the battlefield.
Certainly not. Like I said, run outside the tackles and take advantage of defensive tendencies. Man, they've got some weapons, hey. Stephon Diggs, 100 receptions. Him, Hunter Henry.
The Boston Strangler?
Yeah. Don't choke the hand that feeds you, I guess you could say, when you're attacking your chef for asking for every dollar that she's owed. Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, Mac Hollins, all dangerous threats coming across the field. Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas, that gadget type, busted coverage, more speed, vertical threats. So definitely got our hands full, but sort of being wary and knowing where the guys are and how they play and what the sort of usage has been from May to them will be important for the communication across our linebackers and cornerbacks throughout the game. We simply cannot afford to start in a swell like we did against Houston, going down 14-0 against a high-powered offense. And I rate the Patriots offense more than I rate the Texans offense. Better line play. Quarterback has been far more efficient this year.
Yep.
So very important there. And just the way that they run the ball as well. They've been the most successful outside the left end, 73 rushes for 440 yards, 8 touchdowns, but also heavy usage all the way across the left. So I guess heavy and on the whole more efficient running the ball that way. So for me, key to victory is Mack being vital in the edge setting run defense for this unit and leading from the front there. I'd be concerned if Dupree misses and we need to slot Kyle Kennard into that mix because he's not a guy I feel good about in a playoff game.
No, not setting the edge. I agree completely. One correction, Mac Hollins is on IR, thankfully. But they do have...
Sorry, thanks for that.
I think that's a recent thing. But they've got a collection of weapons. Kyle Williams has started coming in as a rookie. Demario Davis, they find ways to attack you Demario Douglas. They find ways to hit you in different methods.
Yep.
And Boutte is more of your deep shot kind of receiver, and he's got good hands too. If we're talking defense, I'll give you a couple of keys for us on defense. First, very annoying. I've gone through a couple of their games, posted some TDU film stuff with some little Easter eggs on the Pats. You've got to beware this Brady era trickeration from Josh McDaniels. They're not doing the stuff you see from the Shanahan and McVay tree. They're not using insert players through the middle of the line. They're not running short motion out to the sideline pre-snap. They're doing the old school Brady flea flicker, running back pitch to a wide receiver running the other way. Drake Maye, quarterback keeper in the red zone, running to the sideline. It's still creative, just in a different way. You really have to be mindful of those things because that's what they used to do when they were at their best. They'd run the ball, they'd use West Coast offense quick pass strikes when Brady was the quarterback, and they'd hit you with these annoying plays that you're just not ready for it, and it's a 30, 40-yard completion off a flea flicker. They're doing the exact same stuff with Drake Maye. And you ask yourself, how do we stop Drake Maye, this quarterback who's the second-ranked quarterback in PFF's grade throughout the year? He seems to beat everything because he's a good processor against zone. And against man, he's actually the fourth most effective scrambler by EPA. So if you're going to play man coverage, not only is he quite an accurate deep thrower of the football, but he'll go, okay, you've all got your back to me for a second. I'm going to take off with my legs. I think zone heavy might be the way to go, just like the Bills did. And when they played the Bills, he went 14 of 23, 150 yards, interception. they do like pushing the ball down the field. Second highest average depth of target at 9.5. He has been a pressured quarterback, and Drake Maye, the reason why he was only my second favorite quarterback behind Caleb Williams in that draft class, he does have sometimes head-scratching interceptions, scattershot accuracy, and he doesn't mind hunting downfield. And you saw it in the Bills game. He will get a little frustrated if you play disciplined zone coverage like we can with our quarter shell and pressure him a little bit. I think in his first playoff game, Andy, you may see some mistakes. So I know our trend has been to be more man heavy, and to build on what you say, it's hard, right? Because you need to load the box in case they run the ball, because Travion and Ramondre can hit these 70-yard runs, and that's why the Pats are who they've been this year, a top 3 offense in the league. You're going to have to pick your poison. And I think Minter will probably pick the poison of stopping explosive passes and hope that he can win with his lighter box up front. There's some of my keys to victory.
Use of Deion Henley as a spy. What are your thoughts?
It's one of my notes. You've read them.
I've read them. No, I think it's important too. I think he plays coverage the best when he sort of has that key and he has the speed, he has the downhill speed. And like you said, if we're playing any kind of man, it does give Drake Maye the opportunity to roll out and use his legs. Their protection, he's been sacked 47 times, so 7 times less than Herbert, right? So there's still issues there. Will Campbell returns, and that's a positive thing for the makeup of that line, but he's still a rookie, right? And this is big lights. And I think what a big part of it boils down to is on paper and through the form, I think New England are probably rightfully the Patriots, but and this is bias being Chargers fans, Chargers podcast, what this game means to Justin Herbert and his legacy is so far beyond expectations of this year, I think. This cannot be another sort of QB's first playoff win against the Chargers. It's been Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud. It's not going to be Drake Maye. And I think that the rest of the team knows this too. They're probably fed up with hearing about how Herbert's a mid QB. They all know that he's top 5, top 3, and I think they're going to go out and do it for him and get the Chargers over the line for at least one playoff win this season. Do you feel like there's any grounds for that? Do you feel like this is not a foregone conclusion against the Pats? Do you think that's a general, like, this is going to be a very tight game?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I can't see this being a blowout just because of the way our offense has played games all year long with the offensive
we don't do
line.
that.
With how Greg Roman calls plays, he's not calling plays to win by 3 scores. They want to get to third down. I know they don't want to, but the way they call plays, you see a lot of third downs. Yeah, you don't score a lot. You want high time of possession, turnovers, field goals, all that good stuff. But I do have hope, man. Like, this is such an important game for Herbert's legacy. I know, like, if we're in the same place next year and he wins, eventually he'll get that playoff win. But the time is now. He's had the week off. They do have some things on defense you can exploit. Shot plays early with their man coverage. Herbert's legs are going to be critical in this game. They've got some guys who can't tackle. Kalavon Chase on, Marcus Jones, Christian Gonzalez outside cornerback. It is a real game if these guys want to play man coverage for Herbert to go back, not like what he sees downfield, take off with his legs. He can have 60 yards rushing in this game, have 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 60 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown, come out, win, be exemplary, and shut up that crowd who like to say that he can't get it done in the playoffs. He's 0-2 in playoff games, and in neither playoff game did he play well, but nor did his teammates. We've got to take advantage of the red zone opportunities. Hopefully Hampton's okay, but if not, Kamani Vidal's a good runner outside the tackles anyway. So with some luck, we can give him some support he deserves, because if we can't run the ball, then I get worried. If it's going to be a predictable game where Herbert's going back and dropping back to pass 45 times, that's not our recipe for success here. We want Hampton to play. I'm feeling what you're feeling, dude. No one's going to remember that Justin Herbert took 129 quarterback hits this season. The second highest single season total in True Media's database, which goes back to the year 2000. They won't care he's recovering from his broken hand. they're just going to see 0-3 in playoffs, particularly if he has a game where he throws multiple interceptions.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. He won't. Sorry, Milan.
Not sorry.
Your team are a pack of C's. And the Chargers are going to win 27-21 and advance to the divisional round where they will meet Bo Nix and his Broncos. That's my prediction.
Nice. I'm going 23 Chargers, 20 Patriots. I think there'll be a couple of touchdowns, but it'll be defensive stops. Defensive stops by the Chargers, great in red zone against the Broncos. 0 from 4, the Broncos went and settled for field goals, and the Chargers seem to stumble a little bit in that red zone too. But hopefully, as you said, Al, defense at the Patriots hasn't been great in the red zone, so there are opportunities aplenty for this team to move on to a romantic getaway with Denver at Mile High.
Before we end, mate, I'm going to throw you. I want your gut reaction on each playoff game. Who wins? Rams or Panthers?
Rams.
Packers or Bears?
Sorry, Dan. Bears.
Me too. Bills or Jags?
Oh, this is such a juicy one. Bills. Just.
Me too. 49ers at Eagles?
Eagles.
I'll go the Niners in that one. Chargers, we both have them winning. And Texans at Steelers?
Texans.
Me too.
Chateau Vedaflor. That one, I think. It's a shame we lost Jack right when he was at the crux of what would have been a brilliant school camp analogy. Maybe we'll get him to record that separately for everyone to enjoy. But thanks for joining in, guys, and we'll see you all next week for not a postseason show. It's a divisional round preview next week.
Vote up!
See you next time on TDU. Hooroo.
Backpedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it! 6 and 10, 5, high step, touchdown! San Diego!
Woo! Good night! Good night to all!